doing in fiction writing. We've been reading a lot of fiction and we've writing a lot of fiction. And something that I've been noticing in your fiction writing is that you guys have really, really great ideas. And what I want to help you do today is add a little bit more excitement to your story so that when your readers read it, they really are inside of the story and they can picture what's happening and like hear the characters talking. So I'm going to read you guys a couple of examples that I chose of some fiction stories that I think have some fun things in them. And I'm going to need you guys to tell me what it is you're hearing and noticing that these authors are using. This one is from the book that we've read, Memoirs of a Goldfish, and I know that you guys have read this. So I'm going to read this page to you. Be listening. What is this author doing? Things are getting very crowded. While watching the plants, I met a crab named Fred. I offered him my fin, and he nearly cut it off. Even Mr. Bubbles is afraid of him. Fred says I should stay on my side of the bowl. Look, I said, the whole bowl is my side of the bowl. He snapped his claw, and Mervyn fainted. I gotta get out of here. So what do you guys hear in this page, on this story? What are you guys hearing? Ruby?
For me, I'm hearing a lot of characters talking.
Ooh, we're hearing talking. And what's another way that we say talking as authors? What's that? It starts with a D. What's that word called when we add it to our story? Do you remember, Oni?
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Excellent. That's right. So talking or dialogue, I heard that too. And you know what was funny? Is it almost made me feel like I could hear those characters' personalities because I could hear their talking. What else did you guys hear in that? Christian? What did you hear on that page there? You heard some dialogue. What else did you hear?
That all of them had a different personality.
So like my characters had some personality maybe. Okay, what's one more thing you guys heard? Like he said, I offered him my fin and he nearly cut it off. Like what are you hearing in that, Temmie?
Like he offered his hand and like he nearly cut it off because his hands are like claws.
So his hands are claws. And what is that? Like they're adding in really specific things. And we've talked about that in our writing. It also begins with a D. When you add in those really, really specific things. What's that called? Yeah, we're also hearing a lot of detail. I offered him my fin and he nearly cut it off. Now, here's another example from another book that we enjoy very much in fiction, The Stinky Cheese Man. Right here, just a few lines. Wait a minute, cried Jack the narrator. I forgot the table of contents. Hey, you're not in this story, said Chicken Licken. I know, said Jack the narrator. But I came to warn you, the table of contents is, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, clucked Chicken Licken. What are you guys hearing in that right there? Tristan, what are you hearing in there?
The narrator talking.
There's a narrator talking. What else are you hearing, Rafia?
I'm hearing excitement.
Ooh, I'm hearing like excitement, right? And they show me excitement a lot of times in writing by using an exclamation point. When somebody, a writer, David, uses an exclamation point, they're showing me some excitement. Now, last example that I want to share with you. I love how Oni and Olivia are still seeking me. I can tell that they are really focused on their writing today. Henry loved eating all sorts of books. Dictionaries, atlases, joke books, storybooks, books of facts, even math books. But red ones were his favorite. And he was going through them at a fierce rate. What do you guys hear within this one? Because this one's a little bit different. So what are you hearing in this story? David?
That Henry likes eating he likes eating books.
He likes eating all sorts of books. And how did you know that? What did they give you so that you could know all the different kinds he likes?
They told us because they said that he likes reading all types of books.
And so who can add on to what David's saying here? How we know all the different kinds. Yvonne?
He said that he likes the best ones are the red ones.
Red ones. Okay, so what's that word? Like, as an author, what's that word that I'm using in my writing so that you know that red is my favorite, but that I also like all these other kinds as well? Kiki? More details. That's right. And so here's today, guys, what I want to share with you is that when you, as an author, add in talking and dialogue, when you add in some personality, Shadi, when you use details and excitement, then it makes it really, really fun for your reader to read your story. And so I'm going to show you my example that we started with yesterday, and then I'm going to read to you what I kind of came up with that might be a really good way for me to think about my writing. So, you'll remember that my characters were my goldfish, my lizard, and my frog. My setting that we talked about was in the fish tank, the glass cage, and the little girl's room. And my problem and my solution for my story was that Lizard's really lonely, and he really wants to move into the fish tank, but he doesn't know how to swim. And my goldfish is going to teach him how. So this was my first try at my writing. And I want you to think about what you hear in my writing versus what we just talked about here. One day, there was a fish, frog, and lizard. And they lived in a little girl's room. Lizard couldn't swim, but he wanted to move into the fish tank with fish and frog. Fish decided to teach Lizard to swim, so he did. And the fish, frog, and lizard all moved into the fish tank, and they were happy. The end.
What?
You know, I'm thinking like, I started it with one day, I ended it with the end. What do you guys notice that maybe my writing might be missing? What are you noticing that my writing might be missing? What do you think, Princess?
It's missing excitement.
It's missing excitement. It's like one day, this happened, they were in the room, and they were happy. The end. It's missing some excitement. There's nothing exciting. It doesn't make you want to read it. Reiki?
More details?
Yeah, there's not very many details. I tell you, like, there's a fish, a frog, and a lizard. Do I tell you their names? No. Do I tell you anything about the little girl's room or where they live?
No.
No, there's not very many details. Oni, what am I missing? Dialogue. Nobody's talking at all. It's kind of boring, okay? And so then I was thinking, David, about how I might be able to add some of that stuff in. And so now I want to share with you my new version. Help, said Lizard. Help, help. Goldie the goldfish and Kermit the frog were confused. Lizard was asleep, so why was he yelling help? Wake up, Lizard, they both yelled. They had to keep their voices down so they didn't wake up the little girl whose room they lived in. Kermit and Goldie live in a big, bright, watery fish tank together. Poor Lizard lives in a cage next to them, all by himself. He must have been having one of those nightmares where he is drowning. Now, who can tell me something that they notice in this writing and how it maybe is a little bit different from my first story that I started out with? What are you hearing that's different this time? Olivia, what are you hearing?
I'm hearing more dialogue.
More dialogue. Can you tell me an example of where you hear that?
I hear help.
Yeah, I started with help, said Lizard. Help, help. So I've got some dialogue going on. What else are you hearing, Rofia?
Like you have detail and excitement.
Can you show me an example where you think I have some details in here?
It says Goldie the goldfish and Kermit the frog.
Goldie the goldfish and Kermit the frog. And those are details because I'm telling you what, Rofia?
You're telling us the animals
the names. Okay, who else? Maybe one or two more people. Christian, what do you hear?
Another dialogue
Where?
when Goldie the goldfish said that the lizard might be having one of those nightmares that he's drowning again.
Okay, so do you see quotation marks there? Because usually when people are talking and there's dialogue, we have those little quotation marks that hug what people are saying. Do you see that right there, or is there maybe another place that you see me using those quotation marks for my dialogue? Do you see another spot I'm using that?
No.
Where, Christian? Go ahead, what does it say?
They both yelled.
Wake up, lizard. They both yelled. That's right. And I heard somebody say that I used excitement. Can somebody tell me how they knew I added in some excitement in here? Where's the example of some excitement in my story? I love how Ruby's hand is up. I love how Kiki and Rofia's hands are up. And I'm wondering if maybe, Abigail, do you see a place where I might have used some excitement in my writing? Where? Can you tell me? Wake up, lizard. How is that showing excitement? Can you tell me?
You were showing excitement.
So when I read it, I was showing some excitement. Good. Is there another place where you can tell for sure there's excitement by something I used as a writer? Yvonne?
Help. So help.
How do you know?
It has exclamation point.
Ah, it has an exclamation point. And usually when there's an exclamation point, the reader's going to read it with excitement. So today, you guys all have the beginning of your stories already started. And you guys have been doing a fantastic job of thinking through that. But today as writers, I want you to think about how can I use dialogue and details in my story to make it great fiction writing. Some talking, some dialogue, some personality, some details, some excitement. Today you are going to be trying to use those in your writing to add that to maybe your reader's enjoyment of your story. Go ahead and open your notebooks right now. You're going to begin your writing right here, picking up where you left off yesterday, but using these tools that we just talked about to make it stronger. Abigail, Nancy.
Feel like they're kind of inside of my story, that they can hear the characters talking and they can tell what their personalities might be like. Okay, so go ahead and get started. I'm going to see how that turns out for you. like you're gonna add in some dialogue, or that you're gonna stretch it out for some more details? Because like I see, you know, it says everybody doesn't know where the moon is, but like who's everybody? Who's in this story? Can you tell me? Who's in this story? Who's everybody? Who? Who's your character? Ah, but if I've never seen this, how do I know who's in here? Right? It's kind of like my story, David, where I said fish, lizard, frog, but I didn't give them names and I didn't really tell you about any of them, right? So I'm wondering if right here, like instead of saying everybody doesn't know where the moon is, I could maybe change some of that, stretch it out, and introduce our characters to the reader, because they don't know who everybody is. It could be everybody in our class. It could be like every Martian who lives on the moon, or it could be the crocodile and the dinosaurs and all the people that you said are in your story. We're not really sure, okay? And so I want you to think about how you're going to stretch that out and add in a few more details. And then when you think you have that, can you let me know so I can come back and check and we can see if there's another spot where maybe we want to stretch it out even a little bit more and add even more details? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, they lived in New York, okay? So let's put our end mark there. But like, if I've never been to New York, right? And you're telling me they lived in New York, I don't know what that's like. Like where, what is it like where they lived? What are you thinking? There's a lot of taxis, what else? Cool, aliens, what else? Like, are there buildings? Are there, what kind of things would I hear? I can picture the taxis now. Because taxis are what color in your mind? Oh, okay, so there's a lot of yellow taxis, I can picture that, and there's a lot of aliens, okay. So are the aliens, like, do they have different colors, or are they all the same color? Okay, so there's a lot of different color aliens. What else is there? Street signs, what else? Awesome, okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to put maybe like a little star right there next to New York. And before you even keep going in your story, because I can tell that you're ready to keep going, I want you to just take a quick pause right here and like maybe put all those details you're telling me about New York. Can you add that right here before your story keeps going? That way, Olivia, when I read your story, when it's ready for publishing, I know exactly what you mean, that they live in New York, and I can even picture where it is that they live because you've given me so many details. Okay? Okay, go ahead back to your seat. Go ahead back to your seat. Olivia, go ahead back to your seat. Go ahead back to your seat. Keep reading, Princess and Shadi. Go ahead back to your seat. Giovanni, go ahead back to your seat. Please use careful feet as you are walking. Tristan, go
go head back to your seat. Yvonne. Joshua, do you have something to share with us from your story? Yes? No? Okay, so let's make sure we're honoring our writing time right now, because if our voices are moving, then our friends might get distracted from their story ideas. So if you have something you want to share with us, please raise your hand so that we can give you our attention. Princess, keep your feet under your chair, please. Your address and my second, please. Good, so now is the number thing, right? And I don't know who's now is the number three and he's actually not right here. I want you to put your name right there. Stretch it out. Tell me what this arm is looked at. Shoddy, turn around. Solution, yes? Okay. When you decide on what kind of an opening you're going to have in your story, can you raise your hand so that I can see what it's going to be? Ricky, self-control. Okay, one morning, Cinderella goes to sleep, and she wakes up, and the birds help her fix the bed. Okay, so can you tell me where you're going to go with this story? Like, what's going to happen? Where does she live that she has chickens and that there's birds helping her make a bed? And what kind of stuff's around her? Because if I'm picturing a big house, like at my house, I don't have chickens and I don't have birds helping me make my bed. So what kind of stuff's around this big house that happens? In this big house, but like, if I close my eyes, Abigail, like, what's around that house? Are there other houses, or is there like wide open space? Okay, so she lives in a big house and there's a wide open space all around her. What else is out there? Like, if I'm closing my eyes. Oh, so there's wide open space.
picture that so much more clearly now that you explained that to me. At first I was a little bit confused, like how are there birds helping her and how are there going to be chickens, right? So maybe you could add that in right here, and we could really set it up for our readers so that they can picture the setting of our story. They can picture where our story is going to take place. And all those things you told me are awesome details. Big house.
If your voice is on, during writing time, I'm going to assume that you need my help. Otherwise, please remain focused in your writing, in your story.
So those details that you just told me, the big house, the wide open space around it, the farm, right? And that there's horses. Those are really awesome details I think the reader's really going to want to read about in your story. So can you add those in for me before you keep going so that we make sure our setting is very clear? Go back to your seat. And tell me who's back. David, I can't wait to hear what you write, but please don't tell Shadi right now while he's writing, okay? At the end, we'll have time to share, okay? Awesome. So when can we add that in? She was going to make a very special recipe. She was going to bring it to this really big party, and all her friends were going to be there. And so then we know why they're so important, because otherwise we're like, why is she so worried about these things, right? So when we add in like why they're important, it'll give us a better idea. So go ahead and pick that. So maybe back here and add that in, and that way we know that's going to be in that part of your story. Okay? Awesome. Okay, so how are we going to start the story off? Because I see tons of characters, which is awesome, and I see that we're going to have some cool settings in our story. So how should we start it off? Like, what could we use that might be really